back once again. Check out the Etsy store, link in bio for this sticker pack. Long time no see. Like with all good things, you know, you just can't stay away. Who do we have today? What exciting friend are we looking at and talking about today? EDIROL V8, a channel video mixer. V8 is the natural evolution of the legendary V4. Today we are following up the EDIROL V4 video that I made. Got the fader here in DJ mode because I'm not an ARC. So in a lot of ways it looks just like the V4, but a kind of blown up version. And I've got some like thoughts and kind of I guess criticisms about it. What does that mean? Well, we get 8 input channels, a bunch more effects, previewing, and the rotary knobs of the V4 have been replaced with these sliders. If we take a look around the back, the RCAs and S-Video of the V4 have now been replaced with B and C connectors. It's the same video signal, it's still composite video in, but now we get an individual output for each input. So every input you run in also comes out, so that you assumably can preview it at the same time. We've still got the classic MIDI in and out, but now we've got a bunch of extra S-Video inputs, and we have 2 VGA inputs. It's about the same size as the V4, slightly chunkier, it's heavier, for sure it is heavier, and still has the beautiful classic feel T-bar. You might think that like more is better, but in terms of 8 inputs, the back is so full and so busy that it's kind of hard to keep track of. And it's good that they've given you direct outs for each of the inputs, so you could theoretically have some screens to monitor them all, but still, that's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm sure there are some very good use cases for it, but for me 8 is just like a few too many. So as you might suspect, 8 inputs. What's great for this as compared to the V4 is MIDI control now controls the switching of these inputs, so you can use MIDI control to select them. They've replaced the knobs on either side with these sliders. They're nice and loose. We've got the same number of buttons either side. Transport controls. Tap tempo. We've got 2 PC inputs, so that's VGA. The output fade knob has been replaced with an output fade slider, and we can also fade to white as well as fade to black. It's the same setup here in terms of wipes, in terms of special effects, and in terms of BPM sync. So in terms of our setup here, we've got this camera coming in input 2. We've got feedback, a direct feedback running in input 1, and 3 is the iPad here running color code VJ, which is a great little piece of software for iPad 2 that lets you output analog video, and it's got some cool kind of mixing effects functions. iPad 2s are so old now, it's pretty buggy, it's pretty messy at the moment, so I probably wouldn't suggest using it as your only source of video. It's kind of buggy, might fail on you. It's the same menu divey fun as the previous one. We can, you know, kind of painfully go through each of our memory states, set up a picture-in-picture. We've got some keys, MIDI setups, a bunch of utilities, factory reset. I'd suggest whenever you get a new mixer like this is to run the factory reset. Like the V4, it's also got some pretty deep adjustments that you can jump into should you ever need to. You know, setting black levels, fader modes, you can recalibrate stuff, you know, add delay times to your inputs. This is all like pretty deep stuff. You probably won't need to, but yeah, it is still nice to be able to, like, you know, get through and do those adjustments should you actually need it. So we're currently looking at the preview out, which is why we can see all of this menu stuff on the front. As with the previous one, effects buttons down the side. The flashing effect is the effect that we are changing. And of course, the up and down arrows here let us move between multiply selected effects and which one we would like the fader to affect. This side does the left, this side does the right. Of course it has the classic problem that fixed sliders and faders have, which is I select negative and move fader, and I have to kind of pass the threshold for it to engage. So now when I jump back to multi here, I move it, and it takes a second, because I need to move to a new state in the slider before it will kind of kick in. So that's like a kind of minor criticism, but you know, it's fine. Alright, let's take a look at the effects. Always the favourite. So a lot of people use the EDIROL V series for feedback, and so much so that EDIROL introduced a feedback control. As we bring it up, we'll notice we start to get trails behind me, so that's a kind of classic feedback effect. Yeah. As we step through these effects, so this is an internal feedback. That's past that we've got all the classics like shake. I can shake the camera in different directions. No interesting new effect, no sync, where it will just blow our sync level. Makes it look like it's cutting in and out. I do quite like this. It's quite a nice effect, and you can change the background color, of course. At the moment it's set to blue, but I believe you can change it to whatever you want. So pretty good in feedback. Bunch of different types of negatives. All the classic colorize. Here's where we start to get into the slightly more feature-packed aspects of this in terms of our effects. It is a bit of a bummer that you really only have access to these 4 effects. Or sorry, you really only have access to change it between 4 effects unless you want to dive through the menu. We've got like some edge finding with colored backgrounds. It's just like, some hard threshold silhouetting. Monocolors. Some fancy embossing. So some great classic 80s video effects. Of course, posterize, which I can't remember if the V4 had. I'm not sure if the V4 had posterize. We've got our keys, which I'll take a look at in a second. What's very nice is this has the ability to flip, and also squish sideways. Like, let's drag it back. Yeah. What am I on? Why can't I? Yeah, there we go. This is also something that's like pretty fun for feedback. Very nicely, this has mirror settings. Let's grab this horizontal mirror. Of course, four-way mirrors. There's some nice kaleidoscope effects. A bunch of picture-in-pictures. Oh, sorry, because I've got feedback behind you. Never mind. Bunch of picture-in-picture modes. I think you can get in and adjust these a bit if you want. Now we're down the bottom. This is also a lovely effect. The adjustable picture-in-picture mode. So let's jump to this. Jump to this. Hit flip. It's like a pretty nice, messed up little effect. So this is feedback. I'm using the feedback channel on both A and B. Wow. And then I'm using picture-in-picture. And as I move it, you can see the picture frames bouncing around. Fantastic wipes. All the different circle wipes down to incredibly fine grained. Soft wipes in either direction. I don't know why they call this swipe. Venetian blinds. Get incredibly thin. Some vertical Venetian blinds. And hundreds. Ah, yes, great. We have got slides. Cool. So we've got some DVE style stinger slides. This is also quite nice for feedback, because you actually get to sort of, yeah, I mean, look, it literally just has hundreds and hundreds of effects. Got some stretches that are pretty nice. You scale the video up and down. And even just changing between these effects while you are having feedback on a back layer. Even just those changes gives you this pretty nice kind of... Memory slots are how we change between different wipe types, sort of on the fly. But, of course, as you may have realized, the problem with that is when you move between memory types, you lose any effects you might have had. So, strings and roundabouts, win and lose. So, of course, the real kicker, the real killer feature is the feedback and the keys. So, I'm over on this side now. We're looking at a video of me. Let's jump back to something I know. Put on the luminance key. I'm going to stick this here. Yep, great. We're on luminance key, and as I bring this up, we see the darker areas of the image are becoming transparent, and we are seeing the video from the iPad behind it. And the more I bring it up until it's only the video from the iPad. This camera doesn't have the best contrast because there's a light shining in it. But what happens if we swap that around? Yeah, there we go. So, of course, one thing that can make this very fun is to just have feedback. So now we're creating a loop from the output, which is an image of me, where the dark parts are being cut away and replaced with the output running to the input. And so you can see we start to get some nice trails. But now we can put effects coming in from the feedback, so every time we loop, we get, you know, we get more of a change placed on the image. So, all right, let's grab this. I'll get out a menu here. So as I bring the Luma key back, let's take all this off. You can see we're starting to get trails. These trails are fading to black pretty quick. If I do something like colorize here, come on. That's what I was talking about, like sometimes having to move the slider to the extremes just to get it to detect your chat, or to update the kind of state it's in. So chroma key here is currently set to blue. So we can see it here knocking out the blue channel. If I grab something that's got a bit of blue on it, there we go. This is the original footage. And as I pull it up, you start to see more and more of the video behind. So we also have this fade button that we didn't have on the V4. And I believe what that lets you do is lock the slider, move it, and then bring it back. But because, like I was saying, because of this slow updating thing, it's a bit confusing. Like, it would be nice if when I released it, it jumped to the new state, but it doesn't. It stays at the current state. So I'm not sure if I'm doing something. Not sure if I'm doing something wrong there. Anywho's, I feel like I should just jam out on this a bit and kind of show you what cool stuff you can do with it. Definitely something to notice is that there are certain effects and transitions that will disable things like the chroma key, Luma key, which is a bit of a bummer. There we go. There you are. Hey, hey. Come back. Where'd you go? Stay. Cool. Another thing to definitely be aware of is that without a preview, if you find yourself in another memory, there really is no way of telling what might be happening. So here on 5, doesn't seem like there's anything there. And colorize doesn't seem to be doing anything. It may just be set to an effect that I don't realize. So without a preview, there's definitely a bit of, yeah, you can see for some inexplicable reason, there's nothing set there. Like with all video stuff, these sell for, these days, a ridiculous amount, and they just shouldn't. There's kind of no good reason as to why they do. They're cool, but they're old, and often they have problems and they don't work, and so yeah, I just wanted this to be like a pretty short one. I'm probably not going to hook it up to any other gear. To check it out. If people are interested, maybe I'll do a video where I do that. where I go through and test it out with some other cool gear. Pretty much it's like a beefed up V4. It's like a V4, but it's got 8 inputs. It's like a V4, but they've added MIDI control to select inputs. It's like a V4, but it's got a bunch more effects, but they're as difficult to access as the V4. It's like a V4, but it uses sliders instead of knobs. So for all of the cool new things that have been added to it, oh, and it's got VGA input, also cool, and especially at the time that this was released, would have made it very useful for hooking up computers. So it's like, it's got a lot more features than the V4, but they always kind of seem hamstrung by, you know, the lack of, I guess I want to say they always kind of seem a bit hamstrung by the lack of ability to change effects more effectively. It's very nice that all the buttons for all 8 inputs are here, and that all the previews are up there. But the ability to kind of know what you're doing without a dedicated preview screen, and even then, as you can see, like it's not the best visual design. And I know that this is like a product of the time and the kind of computing power that was available, but it would be nice to be able to really have a bit more of an idea of what you're doing at the time. You know, that's just me being nitpicky, I guess. But yeah, the ability to change and introduce new effects is like quite cumbersome. You have to do all this menu diving, which I don't love. The MIDI setup is painful. Enough of me complaining. It is very cool, and the more fully featured MIDI implementation does mean that you can do fun stuff like control multiple effects parameters at the same time using the slider. Someone, maybe even me, but someone should make a little fader board that kind of like sits on top or below that gives you access to, you know, all 4 of your effects simultaneously. That'd be pretty nice. Yeah. What to say? I think that's probably about all I can be bothered saying. So, hope you have a good holidays, Happy New Year, all that kind of jazz. And till next time.